we still don't yet feel safe around other members of Congress.
How many are we?
I think a very considerable amount. The moment you bring a gun onto the House floor in violation of rules, you put everyone around you in danger. I don't care if you accidentally set it off. I don't care if you intentionally set it off. I don't care if you don't set it off at all. You are endangering the lives of members of Congress. And it is absolutely outrageous that we even have to have this conversation.
It's outrageous. Absolutely outrageous, said the leader of America's narcissism party, the fastest growing party in the country. Even on the House floor, surrounded by other elected members of Congress, democratically elected, Sandy Cortez did not feel safe. And that, my friends, is why we need tens of thousands of armed federal troops right outside her office tonight so that Sandy Cortez can finally, for once, take a breath and get back to the vital business of making perky Instagram videos about herself. The business of the people. It must go on. Well, of course it must. We all support that. Though now that we're talking about the people, you've got to wonder what they think of all of this, the actual people. No one in power cares what they think, obviously. None of this is about the people who are actually suffering in our country, the millions of them. No. We're watching one of those rare revolutions, rare in world history, that's being waged not on behalf of the general population, but waged against it. All of this is being done expressly for the oligarchs. None of it is being done for you. Of course, if you live in Washington, D.C., you already knew that very well. Federal troops are not protecting your home tonight. Sandy Cortez doesn't care if you get robbed or carjacked, as more and more people are as crime skyrockets. Sandy Cortez and her friends want to abolish your police, not their police. Here's a scene from the rest of the city of Washington.
Carmelo Duncan was 15 months old when he was fatally shot Wednesday night in Southeast. His father was driving the vehicle and the toddler was strapped into his car seat when he was struck with bullets. The preliminary investigation point out at least 2 people opened fire on the car as it drove by Southern Ave, hitting the car at least 10 times.
The toddler was struck with bullets in his car seat, right next to his father. This happened in Washington, D.C., within walking distance of the Capitol. But no one inside that domed building, the ones who were so afraid of Chewbacca Man, noticed or cared. So whatever else you conclude from this tale of 2 cities, to dip into the cliche bin for a moment, here's one thing you can be certain of. It's not actually violence that Sandy Cortez and her fellow Democrats are worried about. No, it's something else. So why are all those federal troops at the Capitol? Mark Stein joins us in just a minute to assess that. But first, Congressman Thomas Massie, a member of Congress, joins us with his guest. Congressman, I really appreciate your coming on tonight. So clearly, it's not about violence. You go to you work in Washington. The city is consumed by violence. The crime rate's gone up ever since the George Floyd riot started, and nobody cares. The police are nowhere to be found. What are these troops really about, do you think?
That's a good question. And before I touch that, I want to remind people that what I'm about to say is not meant to be critical of the troops or of the Capitol Hill Police. But what people might be mistakenly thinking is going on here is that Congress is doing the 2 things that they do well, which is to do nothing and then to overreact. To basically not provide for protection and then to show up with 26,000 troops. But that is not what's going on here. It's much more insidious than that. They are using these soldiers as a pretext for 3 things in Washington, D.C. right now. Number 1, they've promised that these soldiers will be there during the impeachment trial. You see, the impeachment trial in the Senate is unconstitutional, but unless they give you the impression that Donald Trump created something that's still going on, then there's no reason to have an impeachment trial. So they want the soldiers there for that. The other thing that's going on is some of my Democratic colleagues want to expel Republican members in the House and the Senate for merely objecting to things on the House floor. They're saying they're seditionists. And so by projecting this image of the Capitol under siege by, quote, domestic terrorists, they're keeping that agenda alive. But the most insidious thing that the reason that they have these soldiers here, Tucker, is that they want to pass new laws that will invade your privacy, confiscate your guns in the name of domestic terrorism. They're trying to project this image. And my colleagues aren't stupid. They know that images are more powerful than any words they could say on the Senate floor or the House floor. They're trying to project an image that we are under siege, that the country is under siege from an ever-present danger of domestic terrorism. But here's what's ridiculous. Their definition of domestic terrorism is so broad now that it includes the actual guardsmen who are there to protect them. My colleagues have whipped themselves into a state of fear and paranoia.
Very quickly, I know a lot of your colleagues in the Republican conference are we're all for the troops, but they want to send them to, invade Iran or whatever. Why has nobody stood up and made the obvious point? This is about political power. The troops in our country's capital. Please make them leave immediately. Why aren't Republicans saying that?
Well, this may be the next forever war. Look, 9/11 was used as the pretext to grab civil liberties and to deploy troops around the globe when they're still not back, and they do need to come back. But now we've got more troops deployed in our nation's capital than we do those two countries. So, yep, this is grotesque. And I appreciate you finding a member of Congress to say this as clearly as you did was not easy. And so I'm grateful that you came to say what you said. Congressman Massie, thank you. Thomas Massie of Kentucky. Thank you, Tucker.